That's enough of that. Excuse me. Hey there. Hey there. Hello, how do you do? My name is Harry Wetzel. Thanks for coming. It's the 80s, darling. Yes, it is. It is December 1984. As you know, I work two jobs. I work at In Vino Veritas Wines and Spirits, checking and selling and delivering wines and spirits and booze. I also work at the Winter Garden Theater for selling cats, full color show programs, t-shirts, sweatshirts, records, cassettes, books, and buttons. I get home. I do this 6 days a week, and I get home at around 11 o'clock. Sometimes I get home earlier if I take the subway. So, I usually just walk home and stop and get a beer or two on the walk home. When I get home, I have a drink, I smoke some reefer, and listen to some music for a while. I get cleaned up, and I go out to start the evening's festivities at around midnight. Sometimes I don't leave the apartment until around 1 a.m. to start the evening's festivities. It's New York, and I'm still only 25. It's easy. This stuff is easy. There are many drinking emporiums scattered about Manhattan Island, many of whom I like rather well. I like to go down to the Lower East Side. I like to go to the East Village down there, down by 10th Street, down by 8th Street, St. Mark's Street, First, Second Avenue, Tompkins Square Park down there in the East Village. Many lovely drinking emporiums down there. I go down there often. There's also many lovely drinking emporiums right over here on the Upper West Side. Yeah. And Carp and I go out drinking semi-regularly. And at the beginning of the evening, we shake hands and we say, "No nervous breakdowns." And we say, "All right." And we have to shake hands on it because we're both prone to get upset after we've been drinking. So we say, "No nervous breakdowns." And sometimes it actually works. It doesn't always work. Anyhow, there's a lovely drinking emporium that Carp drags me to on a semi-regular basis. It's over here on Columbus Avenue by 76th Street, called Cafe Central. And it is a lively, noisy drinking emporium where a lot of young people go, and where the great, the near great, and the wannabe great go to get drunk. And the wannabe great and the probably never will be great also go to get drunk and try and ogle the celebrities who are getting drunk there. It is a place set up for people to get drunk and young people to try and pick each other up, and drunks, idiots, and posers to stargaze. You never know who you're going to see at Cafe Central. Oh, there's Bill Bixby or Bill Murray or Robin Williams. Yes, you never know who you're going to see. So Carp and I are at this table one night. There's a handful of other random New York drunks there. Idiots, drunks, and posers. I was just one of the idiot drunks. And we're sitting around boozing it up and laughing and telling random stories. And I'm like, "I'm going to get another drink. Anybody need anything?" Everybody's like, "Nope." So I stand up and I start to negotiate my way over to the bar. It's a crowded place. It usually is very crowded. And this particular evening, it's elbow to elbow and back to back. And so you work your way through the crowd. And then as I'm crossing over to the bar, a great big tall guy comes and bumps right into me. Bump. And we say, excuse me. And we both say it. And then I look over and he looks down at me and he says, "Sorry." And I look up and I say, "Oh yeah," and then poof, he's gone. "Oh yeah, that was Christopher Reeve, who just bumped into me. Superman himself. I could have been killed. That guy could have knocked me across out of the window. I know. I bumped into Superman. Superman bumped into me. Now, here's the thing. When you bump into each other, do you bump into, is there a bumper and a bumpy? Or is one just, or you bump into each other? Anyhow, so I got my beer. I went back to the table and I go, you guys, you'll never guess what just happened to me. And they're like, what? And I'm like, you'll never guess who I just bumped into and survived and lived to tell the tale. And they're like, what are you talking about? I go, Superman. They had no idea what I was talking about, but we all laughed. Anyhow, that's that non event that becomes a event when you're at Cafe Central. Yes. Another late drunk night at Cafe Central. It was late, I was drunk, and it was night. And Carp and I are sitting, we're the last two people sitting at a table. Everybody's, it's getting late and people are leaving. Carp sees somebody across the room and says, oh, I got to go talk to this person. So I'm sitting alone at the table. I said, yes, here I am sitting here with all my friends. I look over, the next table is empty, and the next table's just got one guy sitting at it also. And I look over, and it's William Hurt. And I go, and he sees me doing that, and he goes, back. And so I go, and I give him a, what the hell? Kind of look, and he gives me a, what the hell? Kind of look, and then I go, I give him a, and he gives me a, so the two of us just start making faces at each other. It was a lot of fun. A couple of, we were having a Gurning Contest. A couple of idiot monkeys having a Gurning Contest. And, you know, we each got a couple of good faces in. And that went on for a little while. It did. When suddenly a foxy, young, drunk woman comes up to William Hurt's table and starts talking to him. And I'm like, wah, wah. All my fun with the drunk celebrity has just been jailed. You know, because in a contest like this, the fox will always win out over the monkey. And I'm sitting at my table and I go, we didn't have any closure. I tell you what, I'm just going to go over there and I'm going to say it was a pleasure making faces at you. I'm not going to ask him for anything or anything like that. I'm just going to go up and say that and duck out. Right. So I stand up and I maneuver over to the table. And my mistake was that I didn't lead with my phrase. It was a pleasure making faces at you and then ducking out. That was my mistake because what I said, stupidly, instead was, excuse me. And the foxy girl said, get out of here. And then very cleverly, instead of following up with my phrase of pleasure making faces with you, I then said very cleverly, I said, oh, yeah. And then William Hurt said, she knows what she's talking about. And I'm like, oh. And then I very cleverly said, oh, that's your passive way of saying get lost without actually saying it. I said, okay, you don't have to tell me to get lost 3 times. I said, good luck, you guys. I turned and walked away. Yes, that was another non-event that became an event because it was at Cafe Central. Well, it's 1984 is winding to a close. Yes, it's December. And then Yule 1984 comes and goes without incident. And then it's everybody's favorite drinking holiday. It's the 31st of December, 1984. It is the eve of 1985 itself. Yes. And my friend Carp is having a New Year's party. Hooray! And he and his roommate Dennis live over here on the Upper East Side on 92nd and 2nd or some shit like that. Yeah, that's where they live. And so it's a New Year's Eve party. So what do? Before I even go, I'm at home. I have a couple of drinks. I smoke a bunch of marijuana, smoke a bunch of reefer, smoke a bunch of dope, and get fucked up. And then I go to the party. I get there around 9 o'clock. And hey, there's a couple of Detroiters here, mostly a bunch of people that I don't even know, because they're a bunch of New York friends of Carp that I haven't met, and a bunch of Dennis, his roommates, a bunch of Dennis's friends that I have no idea who they are. Anyhow, um, there were a couple of Detroiters there, and oh, yes, it was kind of weird because Rodent was there. Yes. And it was kind of weird seeing him because I had not seen him since I threw a lit cigarette at his face months ago. Right. And it was kind of like seeing the ex after the divorce. I know. Don't worry, we didn't have any confrontation. I didn't get drunk and yell at him or anything like that. We pretty much ignored each other through the whole party, tried to pretend that each other was not in the room, I'm thinking. I know. So anyhow, I was already pretty loopy before I even got to the party. And then the party, there are these delightful little spinach pies. There's these tiny little triangles, no bigger than that, no bigger than that. Tiny little triangles of deliciosity, made of spinach and feta and fluffy, flaky phyllo dough. Oh, just begging me to have another. Yes. And just begging me to have another after that. Oh, go on. Have another. Have another. Yes, it's so delicious. So I wound up having about 15 pounds of these things, and I'd already drank around a gallon of beer. So after a while, that begins to not work out for you. Right. By 11 o'clock, I was questioning exactly how I was feeling. And it occurred to me by 11:11, I knew that I was feeling somewhat worse for the wear. Yes. So I plopped myself in the sofa there, adjacent to the bathroom door, just in case something horrible winds up happening. Yes. And I'm sitting there, and it's by 11:30. I'm beginning to feel really terrible. I'm starting to sweat. I'm starting to feel a little bit queasy. And this is when the party is at its crescendo of joyous activity. All these young people are drinking and dancing with each other and singing, and they're laughing. It's just fantastic. And I'm just sitting on the sofa breathing. I'm just trying to deep breathe. And so by quarter to midnight, when it is really in full swing, I see it feels like sort of like a parable about how the universe is telling me that I have absolutely no place in the universe, because I'm looking around at all these people and they're just exuberant with joy. And Rodent is having a fantastic time at the party. He's laughing, he's dancing with pretty girls. And I'm sitting there on the sofa, hanging on for dear life, trying not to throw up. At quarter to 12, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to puke. And I hang on, I don't make a dash, and I go, okay, we can hang on. At 10 minutes to 12, I'm like, I'm feeling a little bit better. I don't think we have to go. And at 5 minutes to 12, oh no, I gotta run. And so I ran to the little bathroom, this tiny little bathroom, slammed and locked the door. It's a tiny bathroom. And I dropped to my knees in front of the porcelain commode. Yes. And then this sort of volcanic activity started to happen. Yes. So a few minutes later, when I had pretty much emptied the contents of my stomach, I didn't feel any better. I was still feeling queasy and sweaty and just didn't feel good at all. And I sat down, flopped against the bathroom door, and I'm like, oh, I just feel terrible. And then I hear through the door, 5, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, I felt too sick to even move or laugh at myself or even cry. I'm just trying to get my breath back. Well, I sat there trying to recuperate, and it was about 10 minutes into the new year when somebody else decided they needed to use the loo. They knocked, and I put on my best impression of a living human being, and I said, "Just a moment, please." So I stood up, shook myself out, looked in the mirror. Yeah! Oh, dear, my hair was just soaking wet. I was just drenched. So I sort of because I'd been sweating, and I sort of ran my fingers through everything and looked in the mirror one more time, and I went back out into the party. No one had even noticed that I had missed the midnight. And so I said, all right, it's time to go. I snuck and I got my coat. I willed myself invisible. I worked my way over to the door. And I didn't put the coat on. I just carried it. And I didn't want to draw too much attention. So then I quietly opened the door, and naturally a few people look over and I say, "I'll be right back." Doing my best impression of a living earth human, yes. And then I gently shut the door. And I had a dreadful sigh. I put my coat on. I went out into the chilly night, walked down to 86th Street, and cut over 86th Street to the bus stop that I know so well, yes, in front of the Blarney Stone bar. As you know, I didn't want to go and get a drink. Are you kidding? I felt too sick. I just wanted to get home. And so a bus comes in relatively short order. And I got the New Year's bus back to the Upper West Side. I go on, and there's actually a couple people in the back. And and I go to the bus driver. I say, "Happy New Year to you, sir." And he says, "Happy New Year to you, sir." I go, "How you doing? Everything all right?" He says, "Fine. How about you?" I said, "I have had better midnights. I'll tell you that." And I go and I sit down. I wave to the other people. I say, "Happy New Year, you guys." And eventually I get home to the Upper West Side. I don't even buy an extra beer for at the local deli when I'm going up to my apartment. No, I don't. I go in, I go upstairs. All is quiet. Pamela's still out celebrating, and it's still only around 1:45. Right. It's not even that late. I look in the mirror again. Yeah. And I go, "Hello, 1985. I said, "Congratulations. You made it through 1984 itself." George Orwell would be proud. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. Thank you for coming along this journey with me. I look forward to seeing you next time.